so let's just jump into it.
Back,
Episode Chapter 5.
back in black.
I feel like we don't really have to spend much time on this one. I'm pretty sure our feelings on this episode are pretty similar. What you got to say?
I don't know. We haven't talked about it really.
Well, Chapter 5
I'm
is,
just not a fan of this episode. I feel
yeah,
like, yeah, I'm just not a fan of it. It's just really like everything in Star Wars has to evolve around Mos Eisley's and Tatooine, and it's like, come on, like, like, well, okay, we know that place. I'm pretty sure I know that better than I know my hometown. That's how much time we spent at Mos Eisley's.
yeah, between the video games and all the movies and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like we don't need to come there. Uh, and we don't. I do not like Toro, the new bounty hunter. He's
Nope.
annoying.
Yep.
Yeah, he's really annoying. Mando is really out of character in this episode.
How so?
He because in the series he's been kind of like protective over Baby Yoda, or, like child or whatever. And in this one, he's just like, yeah, I'll leave it to this random mechanic lady. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't know anything about this chick, and she just leaves him.
I can see that.
It's like, and
So
it's
just to
like, okay,
backpedal
cool.
a little bit. So it starts off with the space battle. I thought the space battle was kind of dumb. So the dude
Yeah,
is
I said it was
obviously
easy.
gunning him
Yeah,
down the entire time, and then he just turns around and one-shots the dude. I thought that was just
I
like,
thought it was cheesy.
yep.
I just did not like it.
Yeah, I didn't care for the space battle either. And then
Yeah.
that was like their segue to push him to go to Tatooine to set up for the episode. And I felt like that was really dumb and unnecessary.
Yeah. Don't want him to go to Tatooine. Just let him go to Tatooine.
Yep.
Don't.
And like at this
I don't
point,
like
I think we get it. Like bounty hunters are after him. You don't really need to beat that to
Yeah.
death with more. I don't know. It didn't.
The
I
only
didn't like it.
the only things I did like about this was they establishing a form of communication with the Tuscans. So like I like that.
I thought that was interesting.
I thought that was it was something we haven't seen, but something like it's not like, oh, these guys aren't just savages. Like they do have a civilized culture in a way. I thought the race to get to Zion, the sniper assassin chick, I thought that was pretty neat. But other than that, this episode was really, really dumb.
Yeah, I agree.
I
I know
not
a lot of
care
people,
for it.
especially online, like Reddit and stuff. People were really hype about the actress that plays, what you call her, Gian or whatever.
Yeah,
People are really hype about her because she's one of the main recurring actresses on Agents of Shield. Personally, I don't like her. I never liked her in all of Agents of Shield. I didn't care for her, so that didn't really do much for me this episode. And um, like we've been saying, this episode doesn't offer anything. It doesn't do anything fun or cool, really. And I know some people can try to make the case that this is our like segue into Moff Gideon for episode 8, and I think that's a little bit of a stretch because it's just some random dude who shows up to like find her. We could have really gone without
yeah,
that, and so if that's all your thoughts, that's all I got for chapter 5. I mean,
yeah.
like I said, we could go through
Like the
that
reason
one way.
why this episode just didn't have it wasn't anything surprising. Like you knew as soon as you met Toro, you knew it that he's going to turn on Mando. You knew. I knew it as soon as I saw him, and he's like, "I'm a bounty hunter." I
Mhm.
knew, okay, you're going to turn on him. We're going to get it. And then the one part that did frustrate me a lot, which is a minor thing, is Toro just leaving Zion. I'm not Zion. It's Fennec. Zion is later. I wrote this wrong. Fennec, I think, is the killer. Zion's the chick in the other episodes. But Fennec, like him killing Fennec and just not bringing the body.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know if she's wanted dead or alive, but if she's wanted dead or alive, take her body. Like you get double the prize, you know.
right.
But
That was kind
that's
of
just a
weird.
minor thing. But this episode just was really annoying. Really not did nothing for me. So
Agreed. So then moving on to chapter 6.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
that's
there you
my
go.
thoughts on episode 5.
Shion. character you were just mentioning.
Yeah, that yeah yeah.
Absolutely
I
hated
wrote
this
them wrong in
character.
my notes.
I thought this
What?
character was awful.
Oh yeah, I did not like really any of the people on the crew.
No.
I I did not care that much for all of them. I thought Mayfield's mentality was always like he's trying to boast himself bigger than what he actually is. So I didn't like that. Uh, Berg is just stupid muscle.
Yep.
Like that's his character. You're the muscle. You're stupid. Uh,
Very
and
one-dimensional.
then Zion's history with Mando is just like what? Who cares? Like who cares? I don't care. And it was just like none of these characters. All of them were stupid and one note characters in the crew. They were just
Uh,
not good.
so specifically with Shion or whatever her name is,
Yeah,
I absolutely hated this character. And if I know we've talked about Jessica Jones season two before, I think.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Not
but I got
obviously we
like
didn't
the
make a
same
video about it.
vibes as like the lady that played Jessica Jones's mom. Like she was just trying way too hard to be like a super like you know super bad character, and it didn't work. It fell flat, and
Yeah,
I just found her more annoying than I did Sinister or like Bad Booty or whatever. They were
yeah.
just
I didn't like her constant like all that stuff like to make her seem like crazier.
yeah,
I just
just didn't care for it.
it was like it was just not working for me.
Yep.
Like I guess Mayfield was okay, but I think that's just because I like Bill Burr and the person who plays him. So I was like, hey, I like that dude. So I think that's why I'm like he was all right.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't like him as a character, but the story that they try to tell with him, I kind of I'm into, but him I just didn't care for it. Like I like how he's like not really the smartest dude, but he's like the one put in charge. And even though he's an idiot and even though he gets on my nerves, and you can tell, oh man, it gets on Mando's nerves, and he thinks he's an idiot, even without the facial expressions. You can tell, and it just I like that. It's like either his way or the highway, even though his way is garbage. Like I
Yeah.
kind of like that kind of thing. I love where they were. Where it was, I think it was implied by Mando, like, oh, he doesn't have good aim because he was Empire, and
Yeah. Yep.
Mayfield is like, I'm a scout trooper, not a stormtrooper, and
Yeah.
I was
I
like,
thought that was
I
funny.
like that. That was a funny, like, I like the stuff like that, like, but as them as a character, as the characters of the crew, just all of them, again, they're one note, they're just not substance.
Yep. I didn't
They're
like
just
how he kept them all alive. I just what was
yeah,
the point?
I would much rather him kill him too.
Like so, I think somebody tried to make the case, whether it was online or somebody I talked to, I can't remember. Somebody tried to make the point about him. His whole thing is being honorable and all that. I don't get it. Like
Yeah,
they went out of their way to try and kill the dude, and like there's nothing dishonorable about killing them.
yeah, and I like the way how he took him down too. I really enjoyed the watching him take him down with different tactics and all that stuff.
Yeah,
But finish the job. I don't understand leaving him alive. I understand it from a show running perspective because
right.
they're like, oh, they can
Come
come
back
back.
later, but
But in a
eh,
logical perspective, like why keep these guys alive and then later on in the episode kill the other guy and kill the other dude? Like
right.
there's
Which goes
no
back to that honor
logical.
thing. Like he wouldn't kill off the people that directly tried to kill him, but he blew up an entire space station full of people. I had a problem with that. I thought that was very weird for his character.
Yeah, it just doesn't.
Yeah, and then again, just
Yeah,
like
it
the
just
last episode, this
doesn't
doesn't do
work.
anything for the story.
Uh,
You don't get any
I
like
just
actual
the
good.
crew in general.
Yeah,
Yeah,
crew in general wasn't
it,
good. You don't get anything about Mando other than that he used to know these
yeah,
people, and then they
yeah.
don't
You
even
don't
do
get
anything with that. Is that it for chapter
like
six?
all that I like about this episode really was all the only thing I liked about this episode was all like the subtle jabs, like the self awareness of it. Like I'm a scout trooper, not a stormtrooper. When they're in his ship and they're making fun of like, is he a Gungan underneath the helmet?
Yeah.
Misa Mandalorian or whatnot. I was like, yeah, that's fun, but everything else was like, oh, the one note, and again, just like the last episode, like I knew the crew was going to turn on Mando as soon as I saw him. Same with Toro last episode. I knew he was going to turn. Like it just everything is like, really, nothing really works in this one. And again, it's one of the weaker episodes,
Yeah.
and that's saying something.
Yeah. All right. So if that's it for
Yeah, and
chapter
that's my
6,
thoughts on it.
let's jump into chapter 7. So with this one, I felt like this one addressed a lot of my criticisms. And it took a long time to do so because this one actually it dives into the story and the plot progression that we've been asking for. Like tell me more about the
Yeah.
Mandalorians, make me care about this dude and why he's wearing this helmet a bit. Um, but I felt like this. So basically, 7 and 8 is the first
Hmm.
actual real like part one, part two. If I can, like they directly go into one another.
Yeah.
And I almost felt like it was rushed with this episode
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he spends the first half of the episode trying to assemble his cast. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts
He
on that?
gets a crew together. I I like how he gets uh Kara back. Cara
Yep.
Dune. I like how that is because it's not some like honor stuff. It's not like, oh, I'm bound by honor to come back. I like how he's like, hey, I'll pay you, and she's like, all right. I like
Yep.
that. Uh, the return of IG-11 and the Ugnaught, which we find out in this episode, the name is Quee or whatever.
Yep.
I thought that was unexpected. I
Yep.
wasn't. I did not expect that when he said in the episode that I'm going to find somebody to take care of this child. Like I penciled in my notes. I thought he was going to get the mechanic lady.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
like
I can
I
see that.
was because she actually took it, and I was like, oh, this is unexpected, but it does make sense. He does trust this person.
For some reason.
So
Yeah.
like yeah, like well, he helped him out, and it's mutual trust. Like they mutually helped each other out. So I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, they trust each other, I guess. Makes sense, but I do not like grief contacting Mando and
You're breaking up a lot, buddy.
like Mando shouldn't be accepting these. He should. Am I? I don't know why.
You're a bit better now.
Let me check to see if everything's good. Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm gonna cut down a bunch of my stuff. But no, like, did you? But grief. My bad.
Yeah.
Him contacting Mando and Mando being like, yeah, sure. I don't like that. I didn't like him accepting it and just be like, yeah, let me get a crew together. Like, dude, they're bounty hunters and they're hunting you. Why are you talking to them? Just
Yeah.
don't, unless you're going to kill the guy, which apparently was not his plan.
Right. Well, so that kind of leads me into my next thing.
Which is,
I didn't understand why. So Garif is obviously like high in Bounty Hunters Guild, right? He's obviously got some, power to throw around or whatever. Why did he shoot these two bounty hunters that he brought with him instead
yeah,
of just
yeah,
changing the plan and going in with two extra guys? I didn't care for that. I didn't think that made a very logical sense.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand why. Like, just I don't understand what his thought process was. Like, oh, we're gonna kill you, take the reward, but now that you saved me from some birds,
Yeah.
like I can't now. Like the
And the
hell?
the force sensitivity of this
What?
child, it's like okay, but like it's kind of weird. Kind of weird. Um,
It just
which
didn't.
so my next bullet point is obligatory. Still don't like how this dude talks. It's just a small stupid
Yeah, well,
thing.
yeah,
But I really, 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 I really like the Death Troopers being brought in. It makes sense
yep.
since
I
Moff
wrote that
Gideon's such a
just
big
as a
deal.
bullet point is Death Troopers, and
Yeah,
I'm
Death
like,
Troopers are cool,
yeah,
man.
I like
Everybody clowns on
bringing them
Stormtroopers,
back.
and then Death Troopers show up, and then it's going down. So
Yeah,
I
you're
like that
like,
they're
oh,
included.
okay.
We don't see enough of them in the movies, in my opinion. So I thought that was dope.
I think the only other time really we saw them was in Rogue One.
Yep.
Like actually truly like saw them do things.
Yep.
So that was
And
but
then
there's a lot of things like there's not really a lot wrong with this episode though.
yeah, because most of it is set up,
Really, I thought this
so it
episode was
doesn't.
really
It doesn't.
solid. Yeah,
It focuses more on the story building, which is what we've been asking for pretty much the whole time.
yeah, yeah. Like if you're gonna, I really like Moff Gideon's appearance.
Yeah.
Just coming in, and everybody's like, "Who is this guy?" And just wiping out the other dude, wiping out the dude you don't like because of his accent. Just
Yeah.
wiping him out. Just get out of here. You failed. It kind of is like that. It gives me kind of vibes of Darth Vader when he's like, "Oh, you failed to
Oh yeah.
get Han Solo. I'll force choke you."
I definitely see that.
You know
Definitely
what I mean? You
challenge.
failed. Next guy up. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely
And he's
hardcore.
like, "You failed. I'm here now. Get out of here."
I did think
And
it
so I
was
was like,
weird.
"Oh hell yeah!"
It was kind of weird
So
that the TIE fighter, the wings folded. I'd never seen that before, so I thought that was kind of weird. Nothing, of course, to be like
yeah,
upset about. Just something you've never seen
yeah.
before.
Nothing
So
like
that's
the negative. It
interesting.
was just like a yeah.
So my
I
last
loved the
note
ending of
was
this.
I didn't like that they killed Quill because it didn't make.
Oh, I loved
I
it.
thought the timing. No, it was just the timing of like. So he left to go back to the ship, and then it was like I don't know. It's just one of those things that like the timing felt weird to me.
Yeah,
Like it
with the
should he
timing, I
should
see
have
it.
had
But
more than enough time to make it back to the ship.
yeah,
Now,
yeah,
if they'd have
I
killed him
see
in the
that.
ship or
But I
something, like that would have been okay with me. But
yeah,
I just thought the timing of catching him beforehand was weird.
yeah, I like the fact that they do kill him and that Baby Yoda is captured because usually in those sense, like if you watch enough movies and TV shows, they get away. They get away, and now these guys have to fight their way out to get back. So the fact that
Yeah.
no, they didn't get away. I'm like, oh, I like that. It's that one actually makes a little bit more work. It's not as easy to do it. Like it's something that was kind of unexpected, but not like out of the one or two outcomes, that was the one that you wouldn't bet on. That was the one you'd bet against. You'd be like, I'm not. They're gonna make it out, I believe. And I like the fact that they didn't. They didn't make it out, and it was nice. It was fun. Well, not fun, but it was a nice fun change. So I was like, yeah, that is good. That's
I
good.
hadn't
It's
thought of
real
it
good.
that,
I
that
like
way,
it.
so I can definitely appreciate it with that kind of perspective. I'll
Yeah,
probably cross that out of my
that
list now.
that's why I was really like happy about like oh, and I didn't go hard like I wasn't attached to the Ugnaught
hmm
at all. Like I didn't have really any attachment. So like him living and him dying didn't really do much for me. But the fact that they were just like, yeah, he's dead now, I liked
hmm
that. So
Yeah. All right. So
it just
let's dive into it. Let's get into the meat and potatoes. Let's get into episode chapter 8.
yeah,
So I'll kick this one off because I think I have a unique perspective on this one. So I really
uh,
like the exchange between the two stormtroopers in the beginning
yes,
because from firsthand experience, I can definitely tell you that is a conversation you would definitely hear between some lower enlisted dudes. Like that would definitely happen. And not only that, but I also
yeah,
liked it because it gave you some more exposition on who Gideon is, more or less, because they're talking about how
yep,
like ruthless the dude
and
is.
it,
So like, hey, chill
yeah,
out,
and it
let me run
wasn't
the
even
city
like
for a few
clunky
minutes.
exposition.
Yeah, it was
It
good. It was good. It was smooth,
it,
and it was definitely like how
it
you
was
hear
it
soldiers
was
talk.
composition.
Yep.
Yeah, I loved the target practice that they were trying to do.
Yeah, that was funny.
They tried to shoot like a can or something, and they just could not hit it. And I was like, I like the self-aware stuff. I like it. They're not taking themselves too seriously,
Yep. So
and that
moving,
was like they know what they're doing. And I'm like, like at the show run is the way it is, and I was like, I like it.
yeah. So moving forward from that, back to a timing
No,
thing. I thought it was weird how, I mean, it's pretty
okay,
obvious that IG walked. So IG caught up to him in what is implied to be like a few minutes later. I enjoyed the beatdown scene. I love how IG just brutalizes him, but
yeah,
I thought the timing of that was weird again.
yeah, yeah. I love to see IG-11 in use. Seeing him just go off shows me again why it's it's a BA thing, you know. So I'm
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, seeing him just do things I'm happy about. Yeah. And then that leads all the way in when he's riding into the speeder into the town. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. And I'm like, yeah, this is. I was really happy to see IG-11 go back. I thought it was kind of weird, right? Because he's a nursery droid.
Yep.
Well, he was repurposed a nursery droid, and he's bringing the baby he's playing to into a gunfight.
Yep. I have
You know,
that written
like I
down
was like,
too. I
what?
thought that was weird.
Yeah, I was like, I don't. I'm like, why would you go back to them? Like, is there any point for him, like, other than storytelling, like, any logical point in the show for him to go into town? Not
Logically, it
really.
would make sense to
The
take the
logical
child
point
back
was,
to the ship.
yeah, take the child back to the ship. He just doesn't. He goes in, which that logically doesn't make sense, but it does give us a good action scene. So I'm like,
Yep.
yeah, it kind of evens out, I guess.
Yep. Definitely.
And yeah,
So we're at the point
and
where
then that,
Mando and them are pinned down in the cantina, and Mando
yeah,
suggests going into the sewers because of the convent or whatever. Wouldn't they have
the
moved after
Mandalorians,
episode
yeah,
3 though? I mean, why would they still be there?
because back then they said no, we'll be fine. Like if you remember, he's like, hey, you guys should move. Mando tells the other Mandalorians, hey guys, you need to get out of here. The other Mandalorians are like, nah, this is the way, dog. We'll stay. We know what we're
Well,
doing.
yeah, he says you
And it's like,
guys you guys will have to move the convene, and they reply, "This is the way." I mean, that
yeah,
doesn't
and it's
sound
like,
like they're gonna stay there. It sounds like they're gonna move because it was a sacrifice to me.
yeah. I like the I think we went over one thing that I did like, which is there's a battle with like the Death Troopers,
Hmm.
right? When IG-11 gets there, I love that battle. Both the two
Yeah.
battles with the Death Trooper, where it's Mando versus one though. This is a problem, but I did like it. Mando only fought like one Death Trooper.
Hmm.
Kara fought multiple Death Troopers. Like
Did
I
she? She was
liked,
pinned down in
yeah,
the shop still.
yeah, but still like two or three came in and she took them down.
I think it's a little bit different from how Mando fought him, but I see what you mean.
Yeah, like she took him down. Like it's like Mando is fighting mano a mano, and she took him down kind of systematically. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
was like, I really like that. Like it's still showing us, oh, like Death Troopers are close to them, but they're still better than them. They're still the best, and I like that. Uh, yeah, Mando being injured didn't really do anything for me. I was like,
Let me see
really?
where I'm at with that. So, the real quick, just to backpedal just a little bit. I thought the
Yep.
pacing overall inside the cantina was kind of weird, and the Mando flashback
Yeah.
explaining like his intro to the Mandalorian people. I thought that was oddly timed and should have
Yeah.
been probably explained earlier in the show. I thought it was a weird time to just whip out like a flashback like that.
Yeah. I'm just not a fan of the flashbacks. Not at all in this series. It just did not work for me.
Especially since
It didn't make me
like
care
almost
about.
80% of it, like the flashbacks are 80% reused footage. Like only this one really gives
Yeah.
us a little bit extra at the end.
Hmm.
So yeah, moving on
And
from
it just
that, Mando getting injured. I don't know. I thought it was kind of weird.
yeah,
It's the first
it
time
just
he's
didn't
ever been
work for
shown
me.
injured in any capacity, basically. And I mean, he's
Yeah.
taken some pretty rough hits throughout the series. I thought that was kind of weird.
It just didn't work for me because like again, seeing a lot of movies and a lot of TV shows. The show is called The Mandalorian, and it's the season finale. You
Right.
think he's going to be left off of the final battle? You're an idiot. You know what I mean? Like he's going to fight, and
Which
so it
actually
didn't really do anything for me.
Which actually leads me into a thing like, so IG-11 tells him it'll take him hours to recover, like right or something like
Yeah,
that.
and
His recovery is
it
insane
didn't.
because he goes from being carried to limping
It's
to
like at
walking to flying
most
around on his jetpack.
30
Like
minutes.
it's nuts.
Yeah, it takes at most 30 minutes. I hate the fact that like in this one, it's IG-11 in this episode is really just, yeah, I'm gonna save everybody, whether
Yep.
it's Baby Yoda at the beginning, or whether it's these guys, or whether it's Mando with this administration taking off the helmet, administrating it, all that stuff, administrating the medicine, or at the end of the episode where he goes out and blows up. Like it's like this whole episode could be, hey, IG-11 fight, IG-11 save Mando, IG-11 save everybody. And that's how you can break down this. And I just didn't like it's called the Mandalorian. I want to see the Mandalorian saving people. Like
Right.
if you're going to do that, I don't want to see this battle droid. You know what I mean? This
Yeah, it's
bounty
almost
droid.
like IG-11 is a really bad plot device almost, or
Yeah,
like a like a Mary Sue robot. He just shows up and then they don't lose anymore.
yeah,
So the exposition with the armorer to backpedal to that convent scene, I
yeah,
thought it was kind of weird. Like it's obvious that they were using that to set up next season with the whole "you got to take the child to where he's from" thing. Um,
yeah.
Overall, I did like it though, and I like how the armorer really puts the beat down on the stormtroopers. I
Yeah,
thought that was
I
awesome.
like the armor. I like the armor. I think she's one of the stronger characters in the show, even though she has limited screen time. It's
Yep.
always my. I always like to see her.
Yeah,
Like,
that character always provides something when she is on screen. So I see what you mean.
the one thing I didn't like though was getting that sigil. Him finally earning that sigil that the armor given. It just didn't. Well, why? It doesn't make sense. It
Yeah, like
doesn't. What it?
again, if they had
I just
explained
don't.
earlier in the series what the importance or significance of a sigil was, maybe I would care.
Yeah,
But as far as I'm concerned, they just threw that on there so they could do some more like toys with it, Like here's
yeah,
Mandalorian with the sigil. Like it's just
yeah.
kind of one of those things.
And it's like I just not. It didn't make sense. Like I know we talked about it earlier when I'm pretty sure we did. I should say, when we talked about episode two, when we're like, oh, well, shouldn't he have killed other things? Like, yeah, like it doesn't make sense of why. Oh, because this kid thing that you're now tethered to, because I don't think she doesn't use this word tethered. My bad. She
Yeah,
says
same meaning
found.
though.
Yeah, but it's like, come on, it just didn't. And but the armor, I like her seeing kick ace, because
Yeah, I thought
just
it was
because she's an
legit.
armor,
I
just
cringed
because she
really
makes
hard.
armor,
I cringed really hard
doesn't
when she
mean
took
she's
that
less of a
stormtrooper.
Mandalorian.
She took the stormtrooper and threw him into the what was it?
Yeah,
The where she's
the
melting the
forge.
smelter. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, like that dude he's really
I
dead.
was like, just because she's not, I wrote, just because she's an armor, it doesn't mean she's any less Mandalorian. She's still a
Yep,
Mandalorian.
yep,
She just specializes in making armor. You think she's going to know how to use that stuff? Yeah.
yep. I thought that was cool. So moving on from
So
there,
I
we get
like that.
we get them jumping into the boat and going down the river. So this one actually really upset me a lot. I thought
You get this weird R2 thing.
the R2 thing it was different. We never really seen anything like that before. The closest thing
It
we've
was
seen
weird.
is episode one
I
in the
didn't care.
theater, I
Like, it was
believe.
just weird. It was a weird visual. I didn't have a problem with it. I just thought it looked weird.
Yeah, no. So my problem comes from
My Frozen?
the IG. You're not anymore. IG deciding the only way out is him blowing himself up.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
I hated that. Um, so the
Well,
reason I thought it was
yeah, I
unnecessary
didn't
is
like. I didn't. I
between
just don't
episode
like
one
this.
and this episode, he takes gunfire all the time and he can dish it out. He spins around. He's 360 no scoping people.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't make any sense that a robot would
Yep.
decide, especially with the robot with like his kind of feats, would just decide like the only way out is for me to blow myself up. Like that didn't make any sense to me at all.
Yeah.
Um, some
I
other things I have for that
I
is
just didn't care. Like, I don't care for him saving the day.
yeah, Cara Dune still
Like,
has
that's the
grenades. Like
third
she's shown
time.
looking at
Third
those on
time this
the Mando ship.
episode.
You know what?
Yeah. It was like the third time this episode that IG-11 saved the day.
Yeah, yep. And then Mando still has his
And I was just
whispering
like,
whatever things on his gauntlet.
what the
Like
hell?
there were so many options, and I think this was
Mm-hmm.
just a cop out to take IG out of the show, which I don't know why they did because IG is another one of those side characters that I think the general audience liked. So I didn't see what the point of getting rid of him was.
Yeah. He was meme. He was meme to hell. I know that.
Yeah, yep.
He was meme to the hell
Initiating
because
self-destruct, my
I'm
boy.
initiate self destruct. Yeah.
Yep.
and like it's like I just didn't care for him really. I just didn't like him like living or dying.
Yep.
It didn't do anything for me. I was just like, whatever, get out of my way. You're nothing to me.
Yep.
That's yeah.
And then also to caveat that, I didn't like how. So I get that IG saved Mando's life, but it seemed very weird
Yeah.
that Mando would just be like, "And now I have feelings for this machine." Like it was just, it was one of those things that I felt like should have been developed over the course of the show.
Yeah, that was yeah.
And
I
then,
want to backtrack because I'm looking at my notes and I saw that we didn't. There's two things that I really want to talk about. Moff Gideon. They're both Moff Gideon things.
hmm
The first thing I have a big problem with when he has them pinned down, surrounded in the
in the cantina,
uh, he gives them a timetable to surrender.
that's kind of weird.
Like what? Why are you giving them a timetable to surrender? You you got the advantage. Just
Yep.
do, and we see you don't care about these guys. Just go in there and take your things. I had a big problem with that. Huge problem. And then the other one I had a problem with was him just being part of Mando's past. Like, why does everything have to be? Why can't he just be a dude? Why does he have to be the dude that oversaw Mando? Why does it have to? Why can't it just be a random moth? You know? And
I
then
can see that.
just those two things I wanted to backtrack on. I just did not like that. It
I can definitely
was
see
just like,
that. So I think my last note on the episode itself is just the dark saber. So personally, I've seen the Clone Wars cartoon. I watched it through
yeah,
its entirety. So other than like where it
yeah.
originates, kind of, I don't really see the big deal in this thing. I think it's dope. I think it's cool. We're seeing it live action. But I don't understand the significance of it overall.
It didn't do anything for me. It was just like, oh, that's how he got out. But I'm like,
Yeah. So
why do I care that he has it? I
according to
don't.
Clone Wars continuity, the dark saber was stolen. Okay, so the Jedi and the Mandalorians had like a long time rivalry, and the dark saber comes from the Jedi Temple, and the Mandalorians actually stole it,
Yeah.
and that's why it's significant, quote unquote, to Mandalorian culture. And in the Star Wars Rebels cartoon, that goes into
hmm
Sabine Wren and her character and how she's like adopted some Mandalorian culture or something like that. Haven't gotten far enough to understand, but
Yeah.
that's where it comes
hmm
from. And I can see once Mando finds out that Gideon has the dark saber, that'll lead into some kind of conflict and him trying to win it back or something. So by the end of the show, whether it's
Yeah.
season 2 or 3, we're probably going to end up with like OP Mando with jetpack, whistling thingamabobs, freaking dark saber, and who
A
knows what
bunch
other
of
kind of cool toys. He's
that
going to be one man armying
defeating
people.
people. I didn't like. I didn't like Moth surviving. Like
It's kind
again,
of
it's like
predictable. It's kind of predictable because they definitely
yeah,
set him
it's
up to
like
be the big bad.
yeah, and it's like I didn't care that much for it, so it just did not fit. It didn't like this show was
Yeah,
this episode was for me.
so that'll wrap up the episode
It
conversation.
just
Now we
felt
can
like
get
it was
into the
action
show.
set piece slow down, action set piece slow down. Yeah, all right.
So
Uh,
overall, I thought it was good, but
so
incredibly overrated. And I feel like part of that comes from the sequel trilogy and how bad that is. People just they like
yeah,
automatically attached themselves to the first thing that was kind of decent, and that's where a lot of it comes from.
yeah. I thought this show was put together well. I thought the script was okay. Like the script didn't work of the show, the shots, all of that was put together. Technically, it was put together well. I commend this show because I didn't care about any of the characters except for Cara Dune. Like I didn't vibe with any of them. They didn't make me care about Mando. They didn't make me care about Baby Yoda. They didn't make me care about Ugnaught or IG-11. None of them. Except the only one that I did care about was Cara Dune. I I I can't. I'm like watching this and I'm like, yeah, I can. It's good, but I just don't care. I
Yeah.
don't. It just. I would give it probably if I had to rank it. I would give it probably like 6 galactic credits out of 10. Like
Galactic
I would
credits.
not. Yeah, I just wouldn't. I couldn't because I like know it's good, but I just didn't vibe with the character. They didn't make me care about the character.
Yep.
Is it
I can
better than
definitely
the
see that.
the sequel trilogies? Yes, but it's not particularly good. And I like Pedro Pascal, the actor who plays the Mandalorian. I like him. He's a good actor. I just did not care about this character. Just did not
Yeah,
care.
I agree. So one of my notes right here says the series played out like a video game, and it
Yeah,
almost hurts the show. Like I said earlier, I believe in part one, I said that half of the episode actually provides story, and the other half of episodes is basically side quests. So you're watching
yeah,
Mando do side quests that are pretty much pointless.
yep.
Um,
Yeah, I said yeah. With that, like I think the show could have been with 5 or 6 episodes
yeah,
if
definitely.
they really like it dragged. They went off on these side quests that didn't go anywhere. You could have easily told this episode by cutting it down. You could. It's just not. And with this establishing shots coupled in there, them taking like you can probably compile probably about 20 minutes of establishing shots alone from this, and it's
Yeah.
like it
Um,
just they lengthened it out just to fill that 8 episode slot when they really didn't. It felt like they didn't have enough story to tell for 8 episodes. But
Definitely, definitely. So with that side quest thing, I wrote down it would have been fine if they would have used the side stories as a chance to give us more exposition on either Mandalorians or on this dude's past, since they obviously want you to care about that, but they
yeah,
didn't do it, and I feel like they kind of messed up there.
or they could even make the side quest kind of feed into Moff Gideon's character because we didn't really know much about him
Right, yeah.
when he
I was
showed up.
actually that's one of my notes later on too.
Yeah,
So as a
like
casual
he just
slash
shows up.
normie of Star Wars, it's hard to care about this show and understand anything that's happening in it because like I said earlier, I believe in part one, other than Boba and Jango, we don't know who these people
Yeah,
are and have no reason to care about them.
yeah. Like I'm a normie. I love the movies. I've watched the movies. I have the VHS. I have the DVDs. I have the Blu-rays. I've played them on repeat growing up. I can recite you everything that happens in all the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. I can do it. I can probably do it for the sequel trilogy just because it's fresh in my mind. But this show, like what you said, like I didn't know really what was going on, but I kind of liked that. That I
Hmm.
wasn't like it was something that I don't know what's going on, so I'm gonna learn what's going on. And
Yeah,
then you never kind of really did, and so I was like, oh, like you did in some facets, but in other facets, the facets that I wanted to learn about, I just didn't. I want to learn. How I felt this show was being sold was a bounty hunter show,
hmm,
a show about bounty hunting, and I was like, that's something that hey, if you're a hardcore Star Wars fan and you read the comics, you read the books, you extended universe, watched the animated shows, all of that, right? If you're in it and then here's this story about bounty hunting, I think that would drive people like, yeah, bounty hunters are sick. And then the people that like the normies, they'd be like, hey, I like Django, I like Boba Fett, I can see
yep,
how they work without like watching them, like I can see how they work, and we just didn't get that.
yep.
We
It was
got
something
some
completely
other
different.
story, yeah,
Yep.
and I thought so that kind of tanked it for me too. It was like the show's predictable too.
Yeah.
It's really predictable. I thought
Uh,
nothing really surprised me in a big way. Like things did surprise me. Like I'm surprised that they did that. Or I'm surprised that they did this. But it's instead of doing the other. But it wasn't like anything like story wise, like big surprising things, like a big like M Night Shyamalan twist. There was nothing like that. There was nothing really surprising. It was like I knew once I got the general vibe of the show, I knew where it was getting going towards, and I was like, eh.
Yeah, I definitely see that. So my next thing I wanted to touch on, just real quick, because it's a real small thing. It's
Yeah,
very obvious that the show is going for like a classic Western, or almost like classic Star Wars kind of feel. But I feel like
yeah,
at times the music kind of gets weird. Like they almost play like some kind of weird, like electric, like techno kind of stuff, and it's kind of weird. And I think that kind of breaks the immersion a little bit. But like I said, it's a real
yeah.
small thing, and it doesn't come up that often. But it was like often enough for me to notice, you know.
Often enough for you to be like, hey, this is kind of dragging me out. This is,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I don't think
So
that was a problem for me because I was never I was drug out of the show at like I watched the first two episodes by myself. Like I was like, all right, I'll give it a chance, and I did not want to pick up this show. Did not want to pick it back up. And then we were like, hey, let's make a review on it. Let's do this. And I was like, okay, fine. I'll give it another chance. I'll go through it. And so I didn't have a problem with like the music, like you said, or anything like that dragging me out because I was never, it never really hooked me back in. It was like I was just
that's
going
a
around. So I
good
was like, just, yeah, it was one thing I did like overall with the show. It is self-aware.
yeah.
Like I know I picked that up a lot. Like it is self-aware. It does make fun of Gungans. It does make fun of stormtroopers. It does make fun of uh, the Empire and the New Republic and all of that stuff. It makes fun of this stuff. And it's like, yeah, it makes fun of the stupid things in Star Wars.
Hmm.
But ooh, there was one thing forgot to say. But
Okay.
whatever.
So
I'll keep it
I'll keep going
in
then.
my ending. Yeah.
So I kind of mentioned this earlier, but I felt like the show would have benefited more if they had done the ensemble cast, like I had mentioned, and like
Yep.
kind of have them pair up throughout the episodes, and at the very end split them up instead of kind of like almost the backwards kind of thing we got,
Opposite.
where
Yeah.
they came together at the end, just split up like at the very end of the episode. Like I didn't really get much out of it. I feel like it would have benefited if they had done the opposite instead.
I did not like the use of Baby Yoda in the show. This is one thing like his voice use in the show is inconsistent and it is a cheap cop out whenever they use it.
Yep.
And one of the things that I forgot to mention, but it was back in episode 7, force healing is brought back.
Yep.
And I know we talked about it off video and all that. When episode 9 came out, there's force healing. People knew how to
Spoiler
use
alert.
force healing. Yeah, spoiler. When people knew how to do force healing. Let's be honest, they all saw it.
Did
But
they though?
yeah, so
Yeah,
there's force healing. So everybody knows how to do force healing in 9. In this show, this baby knows how to use force healing.
it's weird.
But in the previous, like in the original trilogy and the prequels, nobody knew how to do it. But this baby knows how to do it. This
Yeah.
chick that really didn't know anything about the Force learned how to do it by reading books. Like, come on. Like, come
Yep.
on, man. Like,
Yep.
I
Baby
just did
Yoda.
not like that overall, like the problems I really have with the show, like in that sense,
Hmm.
is it does not fit in the Star Wars universe. It doesn't make sense.
Yep.
Like especially that makes absolutely no sense in the Star Wars universe. None. I don't buy it.
Yep.
I just don't.
I agree, and I think one of my side notes here, I wrote in one of the margins, it said, feels like a story in the Star Wars universe rather than a Star Wars story, which is pretty much what you just said. So I
Yeah.
agree with your point there. So I've got two quick notes, and then I think I've about wrapped up. So personally, I would have geared the non-plot episodes instead of having them just be one-off episodes. I mentioned earlier that I wanted them to explore the Mandalorian culture and all that junk. But even
Yeah.
instead of that, they could have had him like pursuing leads on who wants Baby Yoda, and two, why does he want Baby Yoda? Because other than
Yeah.
kidnapping him from that scientist, we never find out anything about why Moff Gideon wants the baby at all.
Like I think it's implied on why he wants it, but like I think, but we never know how he finds out.
Yeah, exactly. We don't
Like,
know. Like it's just you're just thrown in, which
like
is again to that
yeah,
video game thing. You're just kind of thrown into this situation, and you're just going from there.
yeah, I think we know why Moff Gideon and them want Baby Yoda because it's force sensitive. It can use it. I think that's why he wants it. But there's no like, how did they find out? Like in the prequel trilogy, they said if he was born in one of the Republic systems, he would have been when he's talking to Shmi Skywalker, when Qui-Gon's talking to Shmi, he's like he would have been tested, he would have been found out that he had the midichlorians, which is a different story. But uh, like that, okay, that makes sense. But why did this baby get tested for midichlorians? If it was, and if it wasn't, how did it even pop up on the radar?
Hmm.
Like really, why is these people? How did it? How did it even have its bounty tracker or
Hmm.
whatever? How did that even get put on it? Like it just a lot of this show does not make sense.
Hmm.
And you can say that about Star Wars in general if you take a step back, but I feel like Star Wars in general makes a lot more sense than this show. It's a lot more continuity structure. Like it's better than this show rather than just like yeah things are happening.
So I don't like
Is
the
what I
I
felt
don't
this
like the
show.
argument that Star Wars doesn't make sense because everything that you need that needs to make sense makes sense within the confines and
Yeah,
context of the universe. Like George
yeah,
Lucas,
but
at the very minimum, did that much.
yeah, but I'm like I'm saying like if you take a step back, everything doesn't make sense. Lord of the Rings doesn't make sense if you take a step. Like it's like all these big things don't really make sense, but if you look at it like as you, it, they do make sense, but they don't. You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, but this show just I just don't think this show makes sense. Like in
Right.
any general like anything. Like if you are inside, like it's just the pacing's all weird. It's
Yep.
too shifty. The payoff at the end, there really isn't one for me. But maybe if you were uh, vibing with Mando, maybe there's a better payoff. But I was vibing with Cara Dune, and I just the payoff at the end didn't hit me. I did not just didn't like it.
Yep.
He's not a fan.
I can see that.
Not
So
a
I guess if that's everything, then in closing, I thought the show was enjoyable. And people automatically assume when you say something's overrated that you mean it's bad, and that's simply not the case.
Yeah.
I think it's overrated in the fact that people were saying it's the best thing since like Return of the Jedi, which I think that is in and of
I will.
itself an ignorant claim because you can't say something's the best unless you've like had a hand in all of it. So unless you're out there watching like
Yeah.
reading all the books, all the newest comics, all the newest shows, and all that kind
Out
of
of the
thing.
stuff I've seen, out of the stuff I've seen, it's not there. I like The Force Awakens, even if it's a a lot of people say it's a reskinned New Hope. I liked it. I thought that was better than this show. I personally like Last Jedi better than this show. But that's me. I understand you don't share that same opinion, but I do. I think this show is better than, say, episode two. I do not like Attack of the Clones, and I think this show is better than uh, Rise of Skywalker. But other than that, like this show didn't like reinvent the wheel. But I don't think it was really trying to. Like I don't feel like this show was trying to be all that great. Like everything when you make something it's supposed to like you want it to be great, but it wasn't trying to be the greatest show. And
Yeah.
so I was like I can't like again, like I've already said, I can't recommend this show. I can't. I think it's put together well. I think everything's fine. I think it's okay. It's overrated, and I think it's meme to hell.
Yep.
I do not care for Baby Yoda. I don't care for IG-11. I don't like. I just don't care about the memes either. And the show missed me on pretty much every facet that it could. And I love Star Wars, and
Right.
it just didn't hit. So
Right. Well, that's gonna wrap it up. I believe that's everything. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.